Here we are on location for this week's Ask Ron in sunny Phoenix, Arizona at the Quick Start Real Estate School.
Yes, we are.
So question number 1 is from Camrin in California.
Hey, Camrin.
And Camrin says, I understand that at the end of a lease option term, or any time before the end, the buyer has the option to purchase the property for the agreed upon price. However, in an owner finance situation where the title has actually been transferred, is there any legal obligation on the buyer to cash out the seller at the end of the term?
Well, that's how they're going to buy it. The whole option is that you give me X amount of dollars cash within X amount of time. So yeah, I mean, they're not legally binding to do that. It's not the law, but if they don't do it, then they may lose the ownership of the property if the seller, you, wants to foreclose on them. And it's the same true with the lease option. The only difference is I might want to evict them out rather than foreclose on them. Now in reality, just because they haven't bought when their term is up, I'm never going to move anybody out of the house for that. I'm going to let them stay as long as they want, as long as they keep making the rent payment and accept the responsibility for doing the repairs.
All right. On to question number 2 from David.
David.
In California as well.
Hope you're not near the fire, David.
If we buy in a land trust or an LLC, are we not personally liable and
No.
that we should never personally guarantee a lease?
You're not going to be liable for anything you do in a land trust or an LLC. You're the beneficiary of the land trust. You're the member of the LLC. In either case, there's no liability. The trustee signs as trustee for the land trust. The manager signs as manager for the LLC. No liability to either of them or you.
All right.
That's why we use entities.
Question number 3.
Okay.
Again, from Camrin in California. In a lease purchase, we agree on a sale price, and the option deposit goes towards the sale price.
Correct.
But the monthly payments do not.
Correct.
Is the same true for seller financing?
No. Seller financing usually includes principal and interest payment from them to you. Part of that principal pays down the debt. They own the house, unlike a lease purchase. So they are getting credit for debt pay down. On a lease option, they're not getting any credit for the rent they paid.
All right. Our final question is question number 4 from Jonathan in Ohio.
Jonathan?
What happens if I go out and implement the pretty house strategy and take over people's existing loans, and there is a repeat of the 2008 real estate bubble bursting? I know that I wouldn't be assuming these loans, so I may not technically or legally be on the hook. But the tenant buyers that I would have put in the properties would no longer be able to get loans for the agreed upon purchase price.
All right. Well, first of all, you must be a thinker brain to come up with that. If you take over a debt subject to, you have no liability. So question number 1 is, Jonathan, what's the worst can happen? You actually lose a free house you got with no liability on it. However, when the prices come down, the rents don't. There's no reason to lose the house. You may have dropped it in value, but they're still going to be in there paying you rent. And the second part of your question is, what if the house is not worth what you sold it for? Well, that becomes the buyer's problem, Jonathan, not your problem. If the time that you've given them goes by and they can't buy the house for whatever reason, it's up to you and them combined what you do about it. Of course, if there's room, you could always lower the price. If there's not room, you can't. And if that worst case comes to worse and the whole world goes to hell in a handbasket, remember you can always try to short sale it on your exit strategy and get the lender to take less. You don't need to worry about that, sir. You need to go worry about getting some deals done and not looking for things to go wrong, Mr. Thinker Brain. Now you're either an engineer, an IT tech, or some kind of accountant type person. One of those 3 come up with that question. See you next week, guys.